How much longer will Davis Mills hold it down? How much longer should he? Plus, an interesting week for the Texans. The business could pick up quicker than expected. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do
It's
it
the Locker
live.
Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city.
Dream is alive. Season is alive. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. Shout out to everyone who joined us for Reaction Monday today on SNL, which you can hear Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock local time, and the Texans Collective, which you can hear/see every Monday right here on YouTube. So the Texans get a much-needed win. We've already broken this down, and now they have the opportunity to get where they really – the only – place that they could possibly get to keep the season alive was 5-5. 5-5 was the worst case scenario for them after they started out 0-3, and the season is now alive at 5-5. And the next two games actually look pretty interesting. If you look at the layout of where the Texans currently are in the next two games, they got the Tennessee Titans, who they open as a 7-point favorite. Kind of feels like it could be a trap game just with the wacky stuff that's going on in the NFL and the fact they're coming off of a bye. But it's a game you should expect to win. Now, whether or not CJ Stroud will or should be there, we'll get into that a little bit later. But you got the Titans, and then you got the Bills. And the Bills are interesting because the Bills were one of those teams that you looked at and you said, when the schedule first came out, man, they have no chance of winning that game. But you look at where the Bills are right now. The Bills are 6-3. They tried to make 2 trades last week with division opponents, significant trades for Jalen Waddle with the Dolphins and Quinnen Williams from the Jets. And then they go out on the field and they get their ass kicked by the Dolphins. So Buffalo is a desperate team, and Buffalo is really not looking that good. And they're playing extremely poorly right now, and you're going to get them on a short week. It's a team that DeMeco Ryans kind of had his way with last year, and they're going to be coming off facing a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, which is really good. So the Buffalo game looks a little bit different than we'd originally thought. And the Titans game, they're coming off of a bye. It's probably something you should pay attention to. And I think Buffalo would be one of the prime examples of pointing that out. So the next two games is interesting. And this is the post-week outlook. Shout out to Sleeper, best scoring app in the game. I was following the Monday night game on Sleeper. I've been following all the NBA games on Sleeper. It is my new scoring app. And it already is the best DFS, daily fantasy in the game, and the scoring app is great. I've had people make the switch. They say, thank you very much. While they're at it, they say, okay, this higher lower game makes it even better. If you want to participate in that, you can get a $20 free entry, no deposit needed, and you get a 100% match up to $100 by using that promo code LOCKER. But even if you don't want to play that, which I don't know why you wouldn't, you do get the best scoring app in the game. So that's the 2-game outlook for the Texans. Then you look at we take our eyes off our own paper here, and you look at some of the other stuff that's going on with the Texans. So we always go through this after the week. Right now, there are 8 teams in the AFC with a winning record. 8 teams in the AFC have a winning record. You have 3 8-2 teams: Indianapolis, Denver, and New England. You have a 5-4 team in Pittsburgh. Then you have a 7-3 Chargers team, 6-3 Buffalo team, and then you have 2 5-4 teams in front of you. And Jacksonville actually right now holds the final playoff spot. The Texans are 1 game out from the final playoff spot. The problem is they have Kansas City above them. Now, the good news for them is they play Kansas City, and they will have a chance to perhaps win the head-to-head there. But Kansas City and Jacksonville are sitting at 5-4. So those are 2 teams above you. If you look at the Texans layout here, the 5-4 teams that we just mentioned, Pittsburgh's leading their division. But if they lose, it gets interesting. Who does Pittsburgh play this week? They got the 3-6 Bengals. Could easily lose that game. Cincinnati needs to win. Stranger things have happened. So if you take care of business against the Titans and then the Steelers lose, then the top of that division is 5-5. Not great. And you want them to have as bad of a record as possible. So one 5-4 team, if you improve to 5-5, would be 5-5 with Pittsburgh. Then you have the Jags. The Jags face the Chargers. The Chargers are 7-3, and the Jags are 5-4, and they're both above you in the standings. So that's a win-win situation. It's an even bigger win if the Chargers do what they're supposed to do and they beat the Jags. So that would put you tied with the Jags at 5-5, assuming, and maybe it's not too big of an assumption, but assuming that you take care of business against the Titans, that puts them at 5-5. Then this is where it gets real interesting. I don't think anyone in the world thinks that Denver is a really, really good elite team right now. They're not. But if the Broncos are able to beat the Chiefs this week and extend their lead in the division, the AFC West, after the Chiefs' slow start, if the Broncos are able to do that, and it is in Denver, it's only a 3.5-point line, the Chiefs would then be 5-5. So you have three teams that are one game above you in the playoff standings that have very losable games this week while you're playing the laughingstock of the NFL. This could be a really good week for the Texans. Now, you're not going to be able to do a victory lap because you're still going to have to take care of business, but you'll have Buffalo coming to town, a team that you beat last year, and a team that is kind of flawed. So we could be a few days away from stuff getting really interesting for the Texans when you look at what their opportunity is and you keep your eyes on your own paper, and then you take your eyes off your paper and you see what these teams above you in the playoff standings are. And that's why 5-5 was so important. That's why 5-5 was so important. You have three teams right above you at 5-4. They could very easily lose. The Jacksonville game, it was one of the biggest wins that the Texans have had in a while. And we're going to look ahead to all this action, by the way. 2 days before all this action happens, myself, Cody Stoots, SNL, we're going to be live at Spanky's Sharpstown again. We're also going to be there next Friday. Homemade dough, homemade sauce, the best wings, in my opinion, in the game. They got the new nachos. They got the tater kegs. They got the pastas. They got the best drink prices, best food prices. And we get to talk Texans with you. So be sure to join us out there this Friday at 3, and we'll be glad to hang out, chill, and talk about all this. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans, head coach of the Texans. Let's hear what he had to say about this ball game as we put a bow on the Jags game and what he felt the turning point was.
With the Higgins touchdown. And we were driving down the red zone, we've had a lot of red zone woes here for a long time. So, yeah, Woody getting in on the flip crack play, that was a great play just to see everybody see, okay, we can score, we can get in the end zone, right? But to come back again and when we needed it most there, Higgins, the connection from Davis to Higgins to get that play, I think that was the one that really sparked everything for our team.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think it was I think the fact that they were able to score on third down was the biggest difference in the game. And I think that's why when you talk about the quarterback performance, and I said this was the best quarterback performance the Texans have had this season, and I think it was the best quarterback performance that they've had probably going back to last October. I would say the last time the Texans faced the Bills, CJ Stroud outplayed Josh Allen. He played a good game. I would say you could go there. You could go to the Jacksonville game before that. But I think you go back to over a year, this was the best quarterback performance they've had. And you'll get some nerdy ass dudes like saying, well, this guy had this many yards and Davis Mills did this and all that. Look, if you've watched the Texans play this year and you know what their ultimate weaknesses are and what their problems have been, the fact that Davis Mills displayed the toughness that he displayed, the fact that Davis Mills we always talk about the offensive line and we blame the offensive line. Davis Mills was playing behind an entire new right side of the offensive line. There was a new left guard. He was avoiding sacks, And the biggest problem the Texans have had, this has been their number one problem, was they haven't been able to score in the red zone. Davis Mills scored on third down in the red zone 3 times in the fourth quarter. And when you look at why they fell behind, it wasn't necessarily Davis Mills' fault. Wasn't a good start. He threw the interception. That ended up costing them 3 points. Special teams gave away 14 to 17 points, however you want to look at it. After the Texans fell down 17-0, the Texans scored on literally every drive from the second quarter on. And the one that they didn't was when Davis Mills threw a dart to Dalton Schultz and he dropped the pass. The ball was moving. Davis Mills was doing what he could do behind the offensive line. And I know these nerdy-ass stats that we talk about, like we hear, oh, yeah, well, he didn't have this many yards and this many passes. If you're going to force it to Nico Collins 15 times, and a lot of times they're low percentage passes, I would rather do that than anything else going on. I think the fact that Nico Collins had a season-high targets, hopefully that's something that continues. And I don't think you can really measure the third down plays. So any QBR rating, all that shit, it doesn't factor in the fact that on third down in the red zone 3 times Davis Mills scored. So save the BS about this being like some big deal that he had the best quarterback performance of the season. It was. If you watch the game, I think you should be able to see that. Quite frankly, the bar hasn't been that high. Does that mean that he's better than CJ Stroud? No, it does not. But as far as quarterback performance and doing what needed to be done, he did it. And the other thing about this is an opponent that they've already faced. This is an opponent that they've already faced. The last time the Texans faced the Jags, CJ Stroud threw 2 interceptions. The Texans took the L. So I'm not saying that Davis Mills is better than CJ Stroud. I don't think anyone will be able to shape their lips to say that. But when you factor in everything that happened, the sense of the moment, all that type of stuff, I think this was the best quarterback performance of the year. You don't have to take it far enough to say that Davis Mills is better than CJ Stroud. You don't have to take it personal enough to say that that's not the case. Open up your eyes. This was more impressive than San Francisco. This was more impressive than Baltimore. When it comes to what needed to be done to win this game, Davis Mills, he completely brought it. It's really as simple as that. It's not very hard to say. And we'll see what happens with CJ Stroud. Asked DeMeco Ryans what he thought about Davis Mills and the whole operation. This is what the head coach had to say.
How did you feel about the operation and how Davis handled things before the play, not just during the play?
Davis did a great job with his operation, not only in the game, but it showed all throughout the week. So he handled himself really well.
All right, there you go. And that's what he said. And I think this is always interesting, too, when we start getting into this type of stuff. Dominic right here says, I don't know about that. It was the best offensive line play and clutch catches of the season thus far. Can the quarterback make the offensive line better? That's my question. Can the quarterback make the offensive line play better? Is it possible that happens? Because I really don't know. I kind of felt like Davis Mills was avoiding sacks. I think a lot of times he made the first guy miss. But you think this offensive line was just awesome? They were okay. Maybe the quarterback, we hear about all this control. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the quarterback was seeing what was coming and he was alerting them what was going on. Maybe that was happening. But it's weird that there's like an effort to minimize Davis Mills' performance, to where if you say it's the best quarterback performance of the season in a game in which 2 of the Texans' wins have come against backup quarterbacks, the other one came against the dog-butted Tennessee Titans. He goes out there, gets the job done. His special team spots the other team 2 touchdowns. He scores 3 times on third down, and there's like some sort of effort to minimize it. I don't understand it. I know it's gang with the quarterback. I get it. Ride and die with the quarterback. We'll see what happens with CJ Stroud, but why does there seem like there's a small portion of people that just want to minimize it? I heard Stoots today. Oh, this was a great performance for a backup quarterback. This was a great performance for any quarterback. If CJ Stroud did this would be a great performance. This would be a great performance. This felt like, obviously not as much magnitude. This felt like the Deshaun Watson comeback against the Bills, where the offense was absolute ass the first half. This one, it really wasn't really the offense that was the reason why they fell behind. It was the special teams. It kind of felt a little bit like a less extreme version of CJ Stroud's performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but for whatever reason, this wants to be minimized. I don't get it. I don't understand why that people want to do that. Why does this performance get minimized of all performances? Like, if Patrick Mahomes did that, and in the fourth quarter, he had 3 scoring plays and a 2-point conversion on 3rd down and long, it would be gassed up appropriately so. Josh Allen did that. Same thing. Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, anyone did that. Why is there such a strong effort to minimize this performance? I don't understand it. The offensive line played good. The clutch catches this season. You don't think there were good throws? Like, which catch do you think? This isn't Case Keenum against the Titans where he just throws it up and closes his eyes and Dalton Schultz catches the ball. Which clutch catches do you like? Where were the bad throws that did you think that Davis Mills made? It was an absolute dart to Higgins. It was he threw some back shoulder. He threw some back shoulder stuff to Nico Collins across the middle and on the sidelines. He threw the dart to Dalton Schultz in the back of the end zone. Tell me if we're going to minimize this, what throw did Davis Mills make that wasn't a really good throw? It's mind-boggling that this goes down. DQ right there. The line played good. Okay. Did the quarterback have anything to do with it? Like, was he at all seeing what was coming? Did the quarterback have anything to do with that? I don't understand that at all. It's a weird thing that people are doing. Dominic, you're still doing it. I'm ignoring you at this point because you're just hating on Davis Mills. I don't understand. It was good. Brandon Scott, shout out to B. Scott. Who's minimizing one of the greatest regular season moments in franchise history? They should be dismissed outright. Second biggest comeback of all time. Second biggest comeback of all time. Absolute dime performance by Davis Mills. Absolute dime performance by Davis Mills. Primetime V talking about Fisher. I keep seeing people say replace Fisher with Trent Brown as the swing tackle. I don't know if Trent Brown can play multiple games. I actually lost the bet that I didn't think he could play an extended period. I know he had an x-ray today. I don't know how he's feeling. I just know the guy's 6'8", 400 plus pounds. And he's had a lot of injuries, and he's a little bit older of a guy. The way that he played was impressive. I just don't know how long that can last. He's a big dude. So we'll see the injury report on Wednesday, and we'll get an idea of what the deal is and what it looks like. But I would keep an eye on that, and you might be seeing Blake Fisher relatively soon, or Titus Howard goes back to tackle, and you try to figure out something there. 21 Savage says, I agree, but on the flip side, if Stroud drops 2 snaps and throws a horrible INT on the 3rd play, we're on his ass. If he drops 2 snaps and throws a horrible INT on the 3rd play, we're on his ass. People weren't on Davis Mills' ass early in the game. I mean, it kind of gets wiped away though with the performance in the 4th quarter. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think people were saying great performance by Davis Mills after the interception and the drop snaps? The answer is hell no. It was like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. You were looking over at Graham Mertz. I actually thought there was kind of a turning point when he got the sleeve on his arm too, after the softball size lump on his arm.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Cesar says, I'll say this. Mills should be the starter. Jeez. Stroud is shell shocked, holds the ball too long, can't read blitzes. Those sacks are on him. See, I'm not going that far. I will say, I don't know, like in this situation, different games fit different styles. CJ's talked about the body language, and he's talked about how his mannerisms are sometimes. I do wonder, like, if they fall down 17-0 after he throws an interception, is he composed enough to lead the comeback? We haven't seen that type of spirit that we saw rookie year when it comes to comebacks. It seems like whenever things get really, really bad, you look over at the sidelines and he looks a little bit defeated, to say the very least. So we'll get to some more of the comments. Again, Texans, they win against the Titans 5-5. 3 teams above you at 5-4 have some losable games. So they're in good shape. And then Buffalo So we got a lot to get to in that area. I want to shout out the greatness that is TDECU. They are a sponsor of Reaction Monday with SNL. They're also a sponsor of Houston football. They also work with CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud and the University of Houston. All you got to do is go to tdecu.org/Texans. Get that Texans debit card. You're going to get 15% off Texans gear with the TDECU Texans debit card. Membership required, insured by NCUA. If you want to get the Cougs debit card or the Bucky's debit card, they got you covered as well. TDECU is a great partner. Shout out to them and everything that they do in the community and for the Houston football fam. Back to a few more comments on the chat here on Reaction Monday. Brandon says, rough start to the season. Stroud concussion. Mills had to win a game. Playing versus the Colts to secure playoffs. The last game of the season, we in 2023. See, I disagree with that. I think that the Colts thing is interesting. If you had played the Colts when you played the Jags and vice versa, I think there's a chance that your season's over right now. But with the Colts, it's kind of laid out interestingly now in that you're not going to catch them and win the division. I think that's not going to happen. They're not going to have a Jags-like meltdown. But after you play Buffalo, and let's assume you're 5-6, you're going to be facing the Colts. It's going to be damn near a must-win, but you're going to have 10 days rest to get healthy. And then the next time you play them is actually week 18. And you mentioned, is it 2023? It might be more 2019, where the Texans had won the division. They faced the Titans the final game of the season. They had nothing to play for. They started A.J. McCarron, and the Titans won the game. They actually ended up going to the AFC Championship game. I wouldn't bet on the Texans making the AFC Championship game. I'm not saying that. But it's almost as if you just beat the Colts that one time, there's a good chance you might beat them twice because there's a decent chance they might not have anything to play for. So you could be in a good shape. Maybe they're playing for better seeding, but it's actually really, really fortunate that the Colts are really, really good and you're facing them the final game of the season. Sometimes that gets sometimes that's a break when you face like a really, really good team the final week of the season. Mike Roberts says every loss is CJ great, line and Kaylee suck. We win with Mills. Mills sucks. It was great line play, good play call. Come on, the double standard on CJ and Mills. Space Age, this is a hot take. He says his escapability is better than CJ's. I'll give him that for sure. So you're saying that Davis Mills has better escapability than CJ. I think his escapability is underrated. I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know if that happens even like if he has to face the Titans. But I do think the escapability is definitely underrated. For sure. Beep, I think he has a good perspective on this. He says, thank goodness we have one of the best backups in the NFL. Hopefully, if we need him again, he can duplicate. Hopefully. I mean, and maybe it's not too much to ask at all. People saying that he has better composure. Let's go back to the chat. You ain't never hate. We also got to get to this Mills question that I posed earlier today. Cesar P. Hopefully you're going to be at Spanky's. Shout out to you. He says, I'll say it's Mills should be the starter. You said that. I can't read Blitz. I've already read that one. 320 says, if CJ loses to the Titans, did they bench him? CJ, you don't bench CJ for any reason. That's not at all what's being said, at least by me. You don't bench CJ for any reason. You've got to go through the growing pains with CJ Stroud. You've got to figure it out. The only like awkward part about this win is like if CJ had done what Davis Mills did, then you would be able to say, man, like maybe they're turning the corner when it comes to the red zone, and this is going to be the start of something. That it was Mills who did that. It wasn't CJ Stroud. And quite frankly, I think it was Mills that was making the plays, like the throw to Higgins, the throw to Schultz, the run. Like that was just a quarterback making plays. maybe you can build on that. Maybe CJ getting to watch and go through the mental reps. Maybe that helps, but I don't think there's really anything you can really build on offensively. Maybe the rookie's confidence gets up. The other thing is we don't know what Nick Caley's going to do next week. You can't trust him from 1 week to the next. So that's the awkward part of it. Defense, I mean, the superpower did what the superpower needed to do. Danielle Hunter, the best player on the field. So maybe you can build on that and the defense can start filling themselves. But as far as what you did and what you overcame, which was your biggest weakness, I don't know that you can really build on that. Here's the other question, and this is DeMeco Ryans giving the update on the protocol guys. Here's what DeMeco had to say about those guys. I actually don't have it, but CJ Stroud is still in concussion protocol. And my question is this: does CJ Stroud immediately come back on Sunday, or does Davis Mills have to start another game? How much longer will Davis Mills be holding it down? And I do wonder how they handle this. And this isn't I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that maybe you want to give CJ Stroud some extra time and not ask him to play 2 games in 5 days. Now, you can't assume, I don't think that decision should be based on who your opponent is, but it's hard for it not to somewhat be a factor that you're facing the Tennessee Titans. You think Davis might be able to hold it down, but do you want CJ Stroud coming back and playing 2 games in 5 days, or do you just want to get him ready, let him not have to fly to Tennessee and just get ready for the Buffalo game to where he's iced up and ready to go? Maybe he doesn't clear protocol either. We don't know, but that's the other question. How much longer will Davis Mills have to hold it down? I do think if Davis Mills plays against the Titans, I look at it as potentially a trap game. I don't think this is just an absolute bunny for him. So I think that they definitely need to consider that. I don't know how they'll look at it, but it'll be something to keep an eye on. By the way, other note, and I want to make this clear to the people before. So this Wednesday, the coordinators are going to speak. They normally speak on Thursday, and then whoever's going to be the quarterback will speak on Friday. Now, this is not an adjustment to CJ having a concussion. I want to make that very clear. This is because DeMeco has to go to a funeral and speak at his best friend's funeral on Wednesday. So DeMeco is actually not going to be at practice on Wednesday. So this is not like an adjustment for the CJ Stroud thing. It's just the fact that the funeral happened to be on Wednesday. So that's what we'll see. And we'll see what happens with Davis Mills. A lot of y'all seem to kind of want him to start. I'm not going that far, but a lot of people want him to rest as well. Chuck Dog says CJ would have lost yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he would have handled that. We did see him play the Jags earlier this year. It wasn't awesome. Don Paul says, I was laughing earlier in the season when people said start Mills, but after seeing his performance this last game, I can see the difference in the energy between Mills and Stroud. You're talking about the body language. You're not the only person who said this. I heard a lot of people say this, the poise, the composure, not looking defeated. CJ's talked about his body language being an issue. It does seem like some fans seem to notice that, and just how the mannerisms of Davis Mills didn't really change. Jim Stamos says, hey, Landry, would you be bringing back Caley if we finish strong and he continues to play our rookie wide receivers like he should have all along? I guess. I mean, I guess it would depend on what it looks like with CJ, but I guess I'm not going to buy into Nick Caley after 1 week. I can't do it. I will say that this was probably the best game that he called. I don't know why it was, but I did say I bet Nick Caley, and we kind of had a joke about this. I think Nick Caley probably liked preparing for this game with Davis Mills, and maybe Davis Mills just is more equipped for this system. That's not a knock on anyone. We know how the Patriots are. Hell, they started a damn Patriot scrub at guard for 2 series, whatever the hell that was. So maybe this is just like systems a little bit more friendly. Don't know. Don Paul says, I was so hyped about CJ last year and I didn't think anything was wrong with him this season as well. But after Mills played with the same team and coaching staff, now I'm starting to have doubts. seems to be a popular opinion. Seems to be a very popular opinion. It's definitely very good backup to have. I damn sure don't want to trade. I've heard some people say, well, do you trade him now? No. I don't. This is not like a situation where Davis Mills is getting, like, you're not getting like maximum draft equity. And I think the insurance policy is important to have until you don't. You can ride around without insurance. Once you get pulled over, once the car breaks down, you're screwed. You can go a certain amount of time without medical insurance, but once you need it, it's going to be expensive. In the case of medical insurance, it costs you money. In the case of football, it can cost you a season. Ask the Bengals. Ask the Bengals what it's like. You think the Bengals would have liked to add Davis Mills? I think that's absolutely the case. Let's hear from Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz and Davis Mills have some pretty good chemistry as well. Stoots caught up with him after the game. We're going to put the over-under at 5. How many dudes do we hear from Dalton Schultz? He likes to say dude a lot. I haven't even listened to this yet. I'm going to take the under 5, but I think it might be close.
Dude, he had a great week of prep. Put it on display, man. Like, he comes in, like, we know we have a great backup quarterback. Like, there's a reason that he's stuck around here for a while, and yeah, he showed that today.
Can you take us through that touchdown catch that you had, that tap dance when you had the back of the end zone?
Yeah, dude, I got pushed by the end, so I hit the end coming out, so I was already, like, behind it. Yeah, I was able to just fight through on that corner route. Davis saw it the same way I did and just put it up there on one-on-one. Was able to just go make a play.
That's something you practice throughout the week?
Like the route?
The catch.
The catch? I mean, dude,
like that.
No, really. You just go make the play.
We've talked about winning the game like this. This is something that can propel you guys to go on a run.
For sure. Dude, we needed this type of energy here after the game. It's been a long time since we felt the juice in a win like that. So I think, being able to come out on that side of a one-score game was huge for us.
So what does it take just to stay engaged and stay believing to pull something like this off?
Dude, it just takes focus, and it takes a lot of perseverance. It takes a lot of resilience. People think I feel like people think we're crazy for thinking that we're, the outfit that we are, but like we really believe in it. And I feel like when it got down to nut cutting time in the fourth quarter, we go on an 18-play drive, and a lot of it was just running the ball, simple run plays down their throat. Like, that's what it's about. That's what we built our team around.
Did you notice any difference in Nick Caley and his play calling today and the success that you guys were able to have?
No, dude, the execution was just better. And it was hard because, dude, we shot ourselves in the foot again so much early. Like, I don't know how many plays we had in the first half, but it wasn't much. And so, like, when we were able to finally get down and feel like we were able to sustain drives and just to keep pressing forward, especially in the fourth, like, it's huge for us.
Well, then at what point did you feel like it kind of turned and you feel like, hey, we really can pull this off?
I mean, dude, you never lose that belief. But you talk about momentum in games, and I feel like when we were able to get that first score and get that first 2-point conversion and cut it to a 2-possession game, like, that's when, at least on the sideline, that's when I felt, a little bit more energy, a little bit more juice. Guys started to be like, all right, dude, like, listen, this is very doable for us. 12 minutes left, like, 2-possession game. And so I feel like, when you're able to kind of have that spark, have that little play, that one moment, and then capitalize on it, because that's the next thing. You got to be able to execute after that. That's when things like this happen.
You talked about all the good juice you had, and but also, like, it was tough to start. How did you get over to find that juice and, like, have some success?
Dude, we talk about it all the time, dude. Like, it's the one-play spark, and it's the willingness to, like Daniil said at the end, like, just keep chopping wood. Like, keep doing what you're supposed to do. Keep doing things the right way. Keep straining. Keep focusing on just the fundamentals. Like, it sounds so ridiculous. I mean, I hate hearing it sometimes too, but, like, really, that's what it's about. Like, it's the fundamentals of the game. We were able to execute the fundamentals better than anybody else in the fourth quarter when it matters most. And we were able to do that too.
All right, there you go. So 11 dudes from Dalton in 3 minutes. You can say dude as many times as you want, especially if you play like that, dude. Contract your Dalton Schultz is a thing. You look at the years where he's been on his final deal, and some will say, well, this is the final year of his contract. They're not paying him $11 million next year. And that might be a position that they churn, but Dalton Schultz has been solid. He had that one drop But other than that, he's been really, really good. He's been really, really good. He's been arguably as good as he was in 2023. And it is a absolute vibe when Dalton Schultz is in a good mood. It's not a good vibe when he's not. So that's where they're at right now. Again, CJ Stroud, Titus Howard, Jalen Petrie still in protocol. So we'll see how that goes. I would say 2 out of 3 for sure back. We'll see how they handle the CJ situation. And then the question becomes, can CJ Stroud build on the momentum? Do we see execution in the red zone, or do we see them go back to what they were before that fourth quarter yesterday? It's a question. Do we see the offense really from the second quarter on? Is that what we see from CJ? And do we see him beat a good team? We haven't seen CJ Stroud still beat a good team. I guess San Francisco's okay, but they were pretty depleted. What do we see when that goes down? That's something to really keep an eye on when it comes to CJ Stroud, and it comes to the Texans, and it comes to everything going on with what they got going. But yeah, 11 dudes from Dalton Schultz. Pretty impressive. And it seems like people are pretty high on what's going on with DeMeco and company. So what is it going to look like on the offensive line? That's another question. DeMeco Ryan, spoiler alert, he says the offensive line shuffle is going to continue.
Yeah, for the offensive line, we'll continue to find, what works for us, and, the best guys that we can put out there, we're going to try that, and it's a culmination of a lot of things that you guys don't see, from practice, from how we've seen guys work throughout the week, how they're doing. Yes, with the mental being where they're supposed to be, doing the things that we asked them to do on a consistent basis. Like, a lot of things go into play there. So still a lot of things that we can clean up, and a lot of things just with our entire team, we can just be more consistent on doing the things that we're asked to do. And till we're going to keep moving guys around till we find the right group that's going to do it the right way, do what we're asking them to do every single time that they're out there.
All right, you can do that, but let's just be completely honest about it. The Sidney So guy shouldn't be on the team. I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything, but first of all, the fact that they even shaped their lips, whoever made that decision to let that guy start straight off of the practice squad, they've really got to look themselves in the mirror. And had they lost this game, that was a fireable offense. Because there's never been a point during training camp or anywhere where you looked at that guy and said, man, that guy's really ready to play. You more so wondered, what's this guy doing here? And then he goes out there and it looks that way, and that thing got squashed immediately. We can guess whose idea it was. I would probably guess the same people who don't ever want to play Juice Scruggs and do whatever they can in their power to not play Juice Scruggs, which the other weird thing about that is they clearly don't want to play Juice Scruggs. Why is Jared Patterson just now playing left guard? With all the desperation they have to not play Juice Scruggs, why are we just now seeing Jared Patterson at left guard? And he actually held up nicely. DeMeco Ryans praised Jared Patterson. Like, there's no method to the madness when it comes to the offensive line. I don't mind the shuffling because I don't think they're good, and it's not a good offensive line. A lot of times injuries call for situations, and quite frankly, the shuffling at times it's been better before or after than it was before the shuffling. But the Sidney So thing was just weird. Like, what and I just don't understand, if you do that, what value does he have on the team moving forward? If he's not even playable, what value does he have on the team moving forward? Like, why is he still here? I don't get that. That was something that had they lost this game, that would be the number one topic. Assuming that it was someone different that stopped it than the person who decided it, then credit that person for putting a stop to that. Because it never really should have gotten to that point. That was one of the weirder things that we've seen, and one of the weirder things that we will see in a long time. On the soup. You ain't never hate. Swarm. Philip Mount asks, Landry, why won't the Texans open the roof? I don't know. I don't get it. It's a weird thing. I feel like everyone's pretty excited whenever it happens, but I don't know. Maybe it's because they're insecure about the turf. Maybe they don't have Texans turf like me. And I can feel the insecurity because I feel bad for anyone that doesn't have it. The neighbors, they're envious. They're envious. I've had some neighbors decide to get the turf, but they didn't want to do it because it sucks shopping for turf. But you know what? I already did it for you. I went through 5, 6, 7, lost count how many slimy turf companies that I had to deal with before I found Dan and his team at Texans Turf. Some of the biggest jobs in town, some of the most moderate jobs in town, always green, always clean. Don't spend all your weekend working on your yard. Get rid of the mud, all that type of stuff. Just enjoy your backyard. Increase your home value with Texans Turf. Best thing that I did for my home. It'll be the best thing you did for years. Go to TexansTurf.com. Just in time for the holidays. This is the best turf weather in the game. Customized, always green, always clean. Shout out to them. Bally Sanchez, SNCHZ. Excuse me if I didn't pronounce that right. Shout out. She says, did you already eat 5 hamburgers? No. So next Tuesday, I have to eat the Cody Stoots. When I was at my fattest hamburger order from Whataburger, because Trent Brown played over 35 snaps. So I have to eat an all-time favorite, a double meat, double cheese, a large fry, a large onion ring, and a large drink over the course of a 1-hour stream. So I think I think I can do that. I don't think that will be too bad. He did not go Taco Bell. It landed on Whataburger, so I got to go with the all-time favorite. I'm probably going to go with the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich and the double meat, double cheese. Onion rings are really what I don't feel like having. I would rather have 2 fries, but Cody said I have to go with his order, so that's where we're going to go. We'll see what that looks at. Logan says 5-5 next week. If that happens, things get interesting, especially with the matchups that the 3 teams above them have. So it is going to be, if they do get to that 5-5 mark, which we laid out before this whole thing went down, things get extremely interesting, and it'll get really fun. There's no doubt about that. 320 says he got the munchies. You always have the munchies, brother.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
I wonder how much you could eat at Spanky's. 320 is always on that. We'll be at Spanky's this Friday and next. So we look like it looks like it's going to be a fun one. It looks like there's going to be a lot of people there. Speaking of feeding, they got to keep feeding the beast. This was one of the locker room clips that was posted actually Saturday, the day before the game. DeMeco Collins, career high tying 15 targets. Someone said that didn't even count the penalty, and it didn't count the 2-point conversion. So technically you could say 17 if you want to get technical. Feed the beast. Force it to him. Don't care. Force it to DeMeco Collins. Keep the defense honest. He's going to make plays. He's a tone setter. But a DeMeco Collins 12-yard reception just hits different energy-wise, even for fans. Do y'all not see that in media? Like, when DeMeco Collins gets a 12-yard reception, it hits different than anything else. It almost feels like it's like contagious. They used to talk about that with Joe Mixon. DeMeco Collins isn't as loud. He isn't screaming as much. He's not as outgoing or outspoken as Joe Mixon. But whenever he makes a play, it's just absolute. I'm a dog. It's dog energy, and you can just kind of feel the team feeding off of it. I thought Davis Mills did a good job of forcing him. When he's not open, he's open. They treated him that way. They didn't treat him like a system guy who has to be wide open. I like the way that Davis Mills was forcing it to DeMeco Collins, and I hope that continues. Because the production that DeMeco Collins had this year, unacceptable. I don't even think it was his fault, but it's unacceptable. Now, we can look at the gray area and say, well, yeah, he had the Hail Mary catch, so the numbers were off still. Then it still would have been 85 yards, whatever, 14 targets. Nico Collins was that dude. The over-under on the yards, I think, was 68. That's ridiculous. He's too good of a ball player for it to be that. So force the ball to Nico Collins, and you'll be able to eat a little bit more. So we'll see what CJ does take from that. And I think Brandon says that Mills could have had extra interceptions. He definitely could have. So could Trevor Lawrence. Like it kind of works both ways. I thought that was one of the bigger. This is definitely a nobody's talking about. I don't think anyone has talked about this, but the Trevor Lawrence could have had extra interceptions. So could Mills. I also think Mills could have been sacked more, but I thought the biggest play of the game that no one spoke of, and it's not even the Stingley interception. Trevor Lawrence just lobs a screen up when the running back's not there. Miles Bryant was about to house it, but the offensive lineman actually kind of alertly, and I don't even know how he saw what was going on. He did a pretty good job with his eyes, obviously, because he saw that Trevor Lawrence had thrown that up. He just tackled Miles Bryant. If you go back and look at it, it was on the left side. There was a screen. I think J.J. Watt and Ian Eagle said, man, that was really dumb by Trevor Lawrence in a much more articulate, professional way. But he lobbed it up there. Miles Bryant was about to be a hero, and the offensive line the lineman just tackles Miles Bryant. You see Miles Bryant get up like, damn, that was going to be my moment. I thought that was a big play by the Jags offensive lineman. Trevor Lawrence, that's the other thing. Trevor Lawrence is the moment where I knew, and y'all were, it was actually a Monday. It was during the post-week outlook. The moment that I knew Jacksonville wasn't for real was when they beat the Chiefs. And you might say, well, that's crazy if you weren't here. But I just said that was it. Daniel Jeremiah put it the right way. That was a drunk game-winning drive. If that's as good as it gets, if that's what they look like when they're winning a game like that, then no one can take them serious. Trevor Lawrence should have thrown 2 picks on the drive. Then he throws an absolute dart. He trips and falls, and then he gets up and runs in the end zone. That was really where I knew that the Jags just weren't ready. And I don't know that Liam Cohen really is enjoying life with Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that ends well. I don't know if they're going to be able to trade Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if it ends up Liam Cohen ends up leaving, and then Trevor Lawrence is on his 4th coach. I don't know, but it's not, your ceiling is limited when you have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. And this is the guy who you had the montage of when he was selected number 1 overall. This is the guy who you had the montage of with John Elway, Troy Aikman, like all these can't miss prospects. Trevor Lawrence he's not that. He's not what that is. So I don't know what they think they're going to do with Trevor Lawrence, but your ceiling is very limited. There's not very many. It's not going to end well with Trevor Lawrence. It's tough. It's tough with Trevor Lawrence. But again, we go back to the overall theme of this. If they get to 5-5, and we laid this out after 3 weeks, we said 5-5 is the goal. You look at the teams above them, it gets really interesting. 8 teams with a winning record right now, 3 5-4 teams. They could easily lose this week. And then it gets really interesting. And then you got the Buffalo game, and it could get really greedy. Now, will CJ Stroud be the quarterback or not? That's something we'll have to keep an eye on as things go. We probably will get a decent idea of that on Wednesday when we hear from the coordinators. But it's going to be very, very interesting. And the other thing that the Texans have, they have a superpower and they have a kryptonite. The superpower right now, the defense. Per expected, the defense, one of the better defenses in the league. The tackling could still be better. We still nitpick it. But the defense right now, can they carry him? Danielle Hunter, Willie Anderson, now 6-2 the Texans are when they both get a sack. The loss this year was the game against Tampa. The loss last year was the game against Green Bay. Both of those were really just as a result of just flukish endings, or not flukish, but stuff that really wasn't symbolic of the defense as a whole. It was the Bobby blunder in Green Bay, and then it was the Baker Mayfield scramble against Tampa Bay. But the superpower is going to carry the Texans. That's the superpower. The kryptonite, though, special teams. They sucked this year. There's kind of a little bit of a fall off last year. It wasn't good. Frank Ross is a friend of the show. Man, the special teams damn near tried to end the Texans season yesterday. DeMeco Ryan's not pleased.
We got to tackle better. It was not from a lack of not having guys there, not having guys in position to make the plays. Again, nobody's going to go make the play for you. You're free to the football. We got to go. We got to tackle. Like, there's no reason for us to give up a return like that, give up plays on the kick. Like, we got to go tackle. We got to get off blocks, and we got to go tackle the football. And everybody got to swarm, and we got to finish to the football much better.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to overcome performances like that. That doesn't happen very often. Ask the Cleveland Browns yesterday. I mean, there was a time where the Jets, I think, had one passing yard, and they were winning the game because of special teams. You don't want to be in the same sentence as the Cleveland Browns. That was an absolute disgraceful performance by the Texans special teams, and that's something Frank Ross is going to have to figure out. Pathetic, just not very good. So they gotta figure that out, because it's a really, really, really rough operation right now. And I think it would be nice if you would put Jalen Knoll back at kick return with Braxton Berrios. What are we doing with Tremont Smith at this point? The Tremont Smith thing, he's your third corner. He's he plays on most special teams. That's fine. You don't need him returning kicks anymore. Put Jalen Knoll back there, put Braxton Berrios back there, and see how it goes down. We don't need to play this crap anymore. And then the punt return thing, don't know what was going on there. Guy who used to play special teams a lot, been your starting safety the last few weeks, MJ Stewart, officially done with for the season. He has a quad injury, so we probably see Jalen Reed. I don't know if we continue to see Miles Bryant at safety, or if we eventually see some Mills, Jalen Mills, not Davis Mills. I feel like you got to emphasize that. That is something to probably keep an eye on. CJ Gardner-Johnson, by the way, they're using him in Chicago, kind of like the Texans use Petrie, and he kind of seems to, after getting released by the Texans and Ravens, kind of feels like he's kind of finding his role. But MJ Stewart out for the season. I've heard like the question, do you move Jalen Petrie back to safety? No. He got benched in that role in this system. Like they found a role for him. He's your nickel guy. He's basically an extra linebacker. You figure out what you got to do at safety. But as far as moving Jalen Petrie back to safety, the answer is no. He's not good at traditional safety in this system. That DeMeco Ryans actually benched him his rookie year, and then they found this new role for him. So no, Jalen Petrie, you don't put him back at safety. And if he did, if I'm the opposing coach, then I'm throwing deep balls even more than the Denver Broncos did against the Texans. So the answer to that is abso-effing-lutely not. I'm not doing that. Zero chance at that. So look at the layout of the schedule. Again, 5-5 is in front of you. That's on Sunday. Thursday, you got the Bills. And then after that, you got 10 days for the Colts after the Thursday night football Buffalo game. So actually a decent layout of a schedule. Do you think the Texans are going to beat the Bills? Probably not. But when you get the short week, you're both on the short week. They have to come to your place. That's where the fluky stuff kind of happens. Buffalo's a desperate team, 0-2 and trying to make big trades last week, and they got their ass absolutely handed to them by the Miami Dolphins. So it's laid out pretty nicely, about as nicely as it can be for the Texans, especially when you already knew you're going to have to play Buffalo anyways. Getting them Thursday night at your place with where they're currently at and what things currently look like, actually a decent layout for the Texans, but you got to beat the Titans. Now, the line, it's dropped. I think it started out at 8.5. It's gone down to 7. So the Texans are just a 7-point favorite on the road against the Tennessee Titans. My thing with the Titans is this. I've mentioned 2021 and when the Texans were coming off a bye and they beat the Titans when the Titans were a pretty good football team. The defense that the Texans have travels. And Cam Ward is Cam Ward. He's not very good. He's very loose with the football. He's pretty careless. So that's the thing. Like, I don't know if the Texans offense, I could see the Texans offense struggling in Tennessee, whether it's Davis Mills or CJ Stroud. I could see that happening. We don't know what's going to happen with the offensive line. We don't know if CJ is going to be in a rhythm. We don't know if Davis Mills is going to be able to build on this. And a lot of we've seen enough from Nick Caley to know you don't know what to expect from week to week, especially after it feels like you have nice things. So that would not surprise me. I just don't see how the Tennessee Titans, assuming that special teams don't hand them 14, 17 points like they did the Jags, I don't see how the Tennessee Titans offense with Mike McCoy, no receivers, a crap O-line, and a quarterback who's kind of looks like an absolute disaster. I don't know how they score points. Crazier things have happened, but that's kind of hard to imagine, but it is the NFL, and survivor pools don't last very long for a reason. So that's really where we're at when it comes to that. That's the outlook, and we'll see what it looks like and when Davis Mills and when CJ Stroud come through. A lot of y'all arguing about CJ Stroud and Davis Mills. Hey, is what it is. A lot of opinions, polarizing position with the quarterback. I maintain this was the best quarterback performance we've seen this year. Also maintain CJ Stroud needs to be the starter. Does that mean he's the starter this Sunday? Does that mean he's the starter on Thursday? Who knows? The week will go on. They'll be off on Tuesday tomorrow, so don't have to go to the facility. Be back Wednesday. We'll talk to Nick Caley. We'll talk to Frank Ross. We'll talk to some of the players, and we will get ready for the insane stretch that is. Be sure to join myself and Cody Stoots at Spanky's this Friday, 3 o'clock, Sharpstown location. I promise you, if you haven't been, some of the best food and best times you will have. I promise you. Haven't met a dissatisfied customer yet. We'll also be there the day after the Buffalo game next Friday. So join us. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Keep embracing debate. It ain't that serious. You ain't got to get angry. If someone thinks that CJ Stroud needs to get benched, hey, I disagree. But hey, that's the beauty of sports. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. This has been another post-week edition of The Locker Room.
We the post of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's where we